Hey, hey, howdy ho, happy Tuesday, I think this is. And I just wanted to check in with y'all here and talk about what it means to stay with yourself. Yes. Um, let's jump into it. So, years ago, when I was still married and I was going to marriage counseling, we were sitting with the marriage counselor. And I was going on and on about what was like really bothering me and upsetting me about my husband and what he was doing and not doing and la 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 la, right? And how I just wish he would do this and wish he would do that. And I brought up this example of like we had stopped at like Pete's Coffee at Bridgeport. I remember this very distinctly, and this is what I was telling the counselor. We'd stopped to get coffee. And we go in, I think we had the kids, like we had little kids at the time, you know, like toddler, grade school age, little kids. And we go in, we order our coffee, and it's like a thing, right? Like there's coffee for me, there's coffee for my husband, there's coffee for the kids, there's snacks, there's the whole deal. And we go in, order, wait for our order shows up. And my husband at the time just started walking towards the door with the kids. Or maybe we didn't have the kids because I don't know, whatever. It's all a blur. But anyway, he's like out of there. He's got his coffee and he's out of there. And I had just ordered a black coffee. I had to doctor it up. I needed to put my cream and sugar and like do the thing, right? And here he is like heading for the door. And so I was like, fuck, he's just ditching me and la la la, like the story I'm telling myself, right? And I'm telling this to our therapist. And so I still stop off at the coffee doctoring station and I'm like throwing in my cream and sugar and like hurrying really fast, putting my lid on and running for the door so that like I can catch up in time. And I'm telling this to the therapist and I'm like, I just wish he would like wait for me. I feel like I'm constantly ditched. He's always walking ahead of me. Like I just, I want him to like be here by my side. And I had this thing, right? And the therapist very, very just clearly looked me in the eye and was like, it sounds like you need to learn to stay with yourself. And I was like, what? Like, what? What do you mean by that? He's like, stay with yourself. Like, honor what you need and what you want. It doesn't matter what he's doing. Did you want to take the time to put cream and sugar in your coffee just the way you liked it, right? And I'm like, well, yeah, right? And he's like, well, then that's about you fulfilling your needs, doing what you want. He wants to leave and go, get outside and wait for you out there or wait for you in the car or whatever, right? You do you. And that's so much of what and it was so simple. And even telling this story, I'm like, I don't even know if this is going to land for people because it's so basic. So basic. But for me at the time, I was like mind blown, right? Stay with yourself and like what that meant. So that literally became a mantra for me. And that was probably back in like 2010 or whatever. So then when it came time and I was like starting to teach classes and do storytelling events and getting into meditation and I wanted to start my website and have it started out as a storytelling co-op. I named it Stay With Yourself because to this day, that is like my number one mantra. Whatever's happening, whatever anyone else is doing, whether it's a presidential election or COVID or whatever your spouse is doing or your ex is doing or your friend is doing or your parents are doing or your kids are doing or whatever, right? We can get so caught up in everything else that we forget about ourselves entirely. We get completely just, what's the word? I want to say discombobulated, but it's more like fragmented. Right? We get so fragmented with concerns and giving so many fucks about what everyone else is doing and whether they are meeting our needs and whether they are behaving and acting and doing things exactly how we want them to behave and act and do things, right? And we forget that we are our greatest friends and allies. And so then when I gave a TED Talk like several years later in 2014, and I was deeper into my meditation practice, but I was still like the reason I got into meditation is because I had intense anxiety, and my anxiety a lot of times came from these stories that I told myself. Oh, this person's ditching me. That person thinks this. Again, being so fragmented within myself because I was tying my energy and my well-being, right, to everyone and everything else around me. So when I gave my TED Talk in 2014, I had been invited to speak. I almost had a panic attack. I did have a panic attack. Not almost had a panic. I did have a panic attack at the thought of public speaking, and I was able to put my meditative practices into play and actually get myself through a panic attack on my own. And that's what I ended up giving my TED Talk on. And it was on being, you are your greatest friend and ally. Stay with yourself, right? Stay with yourself. You are your greatest friend and ally. No one knows you better than you know you, right? Your body, this being, is made up of 50 trillion cells. 50 trillion. That's more stars than have been located in our galaxy and the galaxies beyond. So imagine like all of those Hubble Space Telescope images that we see of galaxies upon galaxies and systems of stars. There is more cells in your body than there are stars that we have seen in any of those photographs that we have located. So that's amazing miracle. And those 50 trillion cells house your emotional memory. So anything you've ever experienced, joy, pain, sorrow, trauma, suffering, excitement, contentment, love, all of it, it's all housed in those 50 trillion cells. So when you think about it, you are witnessed, you are seen, you are heard, you are understood 50 trillion times over in your body, right? And you get to choose what you call up within your body and within yourself in any given moment. You always get to choose. So a lot of times the reason we don't stay with ourselves and we're fragmented and we're looking to everyone else around us is first because we were taught to be that way. Just, we were. And secondly, like that stems from, needing the validation and the approval, the not thinking that we're seen and heard and understood. We're looking for that outside of ourselves. So anyway, I don't know who needs to hear this today, but I say stay with yourself all the time. If you take in my courses, I always say, stay with yourself today and always. At the end of every course, at the end of every meditation, it's welcome to this stay with yourself meditation. At the end, it's may you stay with yourself today and always. You go to my website, stay with yourself. I just had t-shirts made. This is so exciting. Stay with yourself. Stay with yourself. Remember this. It applies to everything, right? And you get to choose what it means to stay with yourself, to bring back all that fragmented energy, to not be all spread out, looking outside of yourself for other people, but to really be with you here now in this moment, staying with yourself, being with yourself. You are your greatest friend and ally, right? You've got you, and you are going to have you until the end. Guaranteed. We're all going to die. Who knows what that's going to look like? Who knows when that's going to happen? But you always have someone with you, and that is you. Okay? So anyway, again, don't know who needs to hear this, but if this landed for you, if you have questions, if you want to share anything, please feel free. Put it in the comments. Reach out. I'd love to know how this lands. I'm Jessica Amos. I'm a truth teller. I'm a mindfulness and meditation teacher. I'm a life coach, and I'm the founder of Stay With Yourself, which is the practice of being who you are, where you are, and that includes all the ways that you are, right? One of my favorite quotes is, do I contradict myself? Very well, I contradict myself. I am large, I contain multitudes, right? So understand that you are multitudinous, just like those galaxies and all the galaxies beyond, just like those 50 trillion cells in your body, that you are a series of moods, of contradictions, of all kinds of ways of being, that you can be here one minute and you can be here another minute, and it's still you. So to be who you are, where you are in each moment, honoring yourself and this human experience that you are having, right? Because you're also just a human being. You're a human being having a human experience. And I believe that embracing this human experience is one of the greatest spiritual paths that you can walk. Anyway, I could go on and on. Thank you for being here with me. I'm sending you so much love today. May you stay with yourself today and always.